Gaddafi's men. Their Lynx helicopter also taken on Sunday during the failed mission. Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte is working to negotiate their release.
All my energy must go to the safe return of these 3 soldiers. And as long as I think it will help get them back, then I and the government will keep our mouths shut.
The government had authorized the operation to rescue 2 Europeans stranded near Sirte. Dutch naval vessel HMS Tromp was anchored off the Libyan coast to help the evacuations. After taking off, the helicopter is believed to have landed on a beach and made contact with the evacuees. Soon after, they were surrounded by armed men and taken into custody. Mobile phones and weapons also seized. The 2 Europeans were handed over unharmed to the Dutch embassy in Tripoli early on Thursday and have since left the country. For their rescuers, though, another anxious night on Libyan soil. Charlie Angela, Al Jazeera.
The man who shot dead 2 US Air Force members at Frankfurt Airport on Wednesday could have killed more people if his gun hadn't jammed. German prosecutors have now issued an arrest warrant for 21-year-old Arid Uka. He's charged with 2 counts of murder and 3 counts of attempted murder. The magazine in his weapon is said to have clogged, which stopped another 6 bullets from being fired.
He held the pistol directly in front of the 3rd soldier's head and pulled the trigger twice in order to kill him. But the pistol didn't fire, as 1 bullet casing got stuck in the mechanism of the gun, so this soldier wasn't injured. As the accused realized his gun was no longer working, he escaped, but was followed by the soldier and overpowered and apprehended by both him and federal police officers.
There are new doubts over allegations of spying at the French carmaker Renault. Renault's chief operating officer, Patrick Pelata, has admitted in an interview the complaint filed by the company in January may have been false. 3 executives were sacked after the scandal, which came to light from an anonymous tip-off. Now the company thinks it may have been the victim of internal manipulation rather than espionage. The 3 executives have been offered their jobs back.
Le directeur général délégué de Renault a eu ce matin.
Renault's delegate director had the dignity to say they may have got it wrong, and if so, they wrongly suspected those 3 executives. So they will be offered reinstatement, and in the event that they do not accept this, they will be given compensation.
And that's the news from Europe tonight. Back to you in Doha.
Saif al-Islam Gaddafi has been the public face of the regime since the unrest began. The son of the Libyan leader disputes there's a political crisis in the country and has accused the media, including AlJazeera, of exaggeration. He's been speaking to AlJazeera's Anita McNaught to discuss what he's been saying. I'm joined by Tariq Youssef, a senior research fellow at the Dubai School of Government. Tariq, thanks for joining us again. One of the things that Saif al-Islam has been talking about is his assessment of the situation on the battlefield there in Libya. Let's take a listen to what he's been saying, an excerpt from the interview.
Okay. The west, the middle of the country, the south is calm, is peaceful, no problem. Some part in the east, by the way, not everywhere, some parts, like, for example, Darna or Benghazi, the people will fix the situation themselves. Because it's unbearable. Because now, no schools, no universities, no health care, no salaries, shops are not open. So people cannot live like this forever. So soon you will see the situation will change and the people will fix the situation themselves. We have to change our country. We have to go forward. We have to create a new regime system. Everybody is convinced. Wait a second. Everybody is convinced. So Libya, we have just one direction to go forward. So now we believe that finally, now everybody believe that we need freedom, democracy. We have to bring young people. We have to reform everything from A to Z.
Now, if we listen to what he's saying there, he appears to be out of touch with the reality on what is really happening on the ground, as we know. The other thing is that when you look at him just in terms of his body language, his tone, he looks supremely confident there. Doesn't seem to be a man who's under any kind of pressure. What do you make of it?
Looking at the whole interview, I think, and this particular clip, leaves you with the impression that Saif is either genuinely misinformed or in denial of a lot of facts on the ground that the whole world is observing. Now, that might account for some of the confidence. Now, if you're getting misinformed, or you're being misinformed intentionally, perhaps, you're not aware of what's happening in the rest of the country, that could very well position you to say things that otherwise would defy logic. It's also the case, we have to remember, that Saif al-Islam has always been positioned as the sort of the poster child for the future Libya. The enlightened, reformist, Western educated, soft-spoken individual. Although one has to note that in the last 2 weeks he's been gradually losing his patience, his composure. He's very frustrated with reporters who are pushing him on a lot of details that we're all observing. This all suggests, in the absence of other information, other spokespeople for the regime, that Saif still is designated to try to salvage the best out of a situation that, from all accounts, has been deteriorating publicly, both inside and outside the country.
Okay, let's look at another excerpt from that interview. In this excerpt, he talks about Libya's response to the diplomatic moves that have been imposed on Libya, like the UN resolution that was passed, like the sanctions that were passed. Let's take a listen to what he says about that.
The West, we know them very well. When you are strong, you know, they run after you. They are like, you know, they're like cats. If you are weak, they want to be like tigers. We know this game. We tried them for a long, long time. We know them for a long time. The West, the Americans, the NATO, come on, we don't pay attention to them. Please, come on. We know the organized media campaign against Libya. We know this very well. This country will survive. I know they want to split the country. They want to just destroy it. They want to control its assets. It's a very rich country, small population. This will not happen. So we tell those people, be happy. This will never ever happen because the Libyan people are so united. And please wait for surprises next days. You will see what will happen. The Libyan people, they woke up from the shock, they realized everything, and now they are reacting and fighting back. And you will see what will happen in the next days.
There again, no indication that he's under any kind of pressure whatsoever. Looks very confident there, making that statement saying, we know the West.
Yes, but he seems to forget that Libya has bought its way into international legitimacy by compensating victims of the Lockerbie bombing, by hiring and spending hundreds of millions of dollars on refurbishing and rehabilitating its image abroad. And it still retained the residue of being an ex-pariah state, an ex-outlaw state. So the West's need for Libya's oil is not unconditional in my view, and one that this regime has had to pay an arm and a leg and make exceptional concessions for. And you see at the moment when they've lost their composure in the early days of the uprising, the West very quickly turned against them. And I think he was speaking here with a sense of utter disappointment at the loss of international legitimacy, especially for him, given that he was always, as he called in one of the Arabic press, the poster child for the future of Libya, the man who could really help move this regime